our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers, the rulers, the principalities of this dark age. There's a battle and there's evil going on. And again, if we're going to engage in a battle to walk in the victory, we better know who we're fighting. What will keep you stuck in Egypt? If I had one word to describe what will keep you stuck in Egypt, that word is evil. The word evil. Evil will keep you stuck in Egypt. Once again, this is not a physical battle. This is not a mental or emotional battle, even though those things are in play. This is a spiritual battle, and we have an enemy. We'll get into more of this next week. Ephesians 6:12 says, our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers, the rulers, the principalities of this dark age. There's a battle, and there's evil going on. And again, if we're going to engage in a battle to walk in the victory, we better know who we're fighting. We better know who we're fighting. So what will keep us stuck in Egypt? Evil. And this is how evil will keep us stuck in Egypt. Number one way that evil keeps us is that we're influenced by evil. Influenced. Now, I'm going to put up on the screen here 3 ways in which we're drawn back by evil, and I want you to know that each way gets more progressive along the way. It gets tougher along the way. It gets more controlling along the way. Influence means simply that you're persuaded by or that you're led by something. It's not a full-on attack. It's sometimes just a whisper. It's sometimes just a thought. It's something that will influence you to maybe go in a direction that you never intended to go. So what or who even could influence us by evil? Here's a few ways. You may write it in your notes, or maybe it's already written there for you there, but a few ways that we're influenced by evil. Number one, our thoughts. Our thoughts. Have you ever, it just comes out of nowhere, where did that thought come from? I haven't thought about that for a long time. And it's not a good thought, by the way. And you're just wondering, that is so random. Where did that come from? Guess what? Sometimes we can be influenced by evil. Sometimes the enemy will come and try to influence, and he'll just drop a thought. And if we're not careful, that thought will drop or develop into a desire. That desire will develop into an action. That action can develop into a habit, and all of a sudden we're dragged back to Egypt. Oh, a thought can be so powerful. That's why God tells us we need to take every thought captive. Another way that we can be influenced is by family and friends. And you're like, don't be talking about my mama. Don't be talking about my mama, Ryan. But let me tell you something. What did it say in Exodus chapter 16, verse 3? The whole assembly grumbled. That was verse 2, actually. The whole entire assembly. That means there was moms, there was dads, there was cousins, aunts, and uncles. Anybody that you can think of, your best friend, they're all grumbling. And listen, sometimes those closest to us will hinder us. They will influence us in a direction that will lead us back to Egypt. And we've got to be so careful to be able to make a distinction between this person loves me, I love them, but sometimes I just need to maybe get some distance. Because what they're saying and what they're doing and how they're influencing me is not the way I'm supposed to go. And the last thing is sometimes our desires will influence us. Sometimes these desires that we have will influence us. Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? God calls us to transform our mind, but only God can transform a heart. And the heart above all things is deceitful. It's sick, and we need God to come in to fix that, and He will. He does come. He works, and He transforms our heart, but along the way, we need to be aware of these desires that we perhaps held on to and how they're influencing our life. Does that make sense? So we can be influenced by evil. Number 2, we're oppressed by evil. We've taken another step up now. We've gone from influenced to oppressed. And I'll give you a definition of oppression. To be oppressed means to impose excessive burdens upon someone, to overload someone, to treat with unjust rigor or with cruelty. I bet you all of you are thinking about your jobs right now. You're like, that describes my job. Burdened, oppressed, ruthlessly, too much put on us. And this is where Satan loves to come in. Listen, Satan does not have one single merciful moment. So you would think when all the weight of the world is on your back and you're carrying it all around and these burdens, that he would say, oh, that person, I need to give them a break. There's too much going on over there. That's the moment he strikes the quickest and the most cunning to come in when you're oppressed and you can't handle it no more, because he desires to take you back to Egypt. And I don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. Some signs that you may be oppressed in life. Do you feel entrapped right now? Do you feel trapped in your life right now? Because if you feel trapped in your life in a particular area, there's a good chance that you're being oppressed right now. Are you being harmed on a consistent or constant basis? You're being harmed emotionally, physically. You're getting sick more often than you should. If it's on a consistent or constant basis, there's a chance that you might be oppressed right now. Are your lives constantly or continually difficult? It's a good chance if your life is continuing to be more difficult than it should be, that you may be oppressed right now. And oppression could be coming from the evil one. And we need to be aware of these things. The second way that evil will come in and try to take us back to Egypt so that we're stuck there is we become oppressed by evil. But let me tell you something. There's some good news in this. Because you're like, oh, Ryan, this is heavy right now. Let's go back to the part where Christ has set us free. I want to hear that. And that's true. But guess what? I know someone who overcame the world. I do. And I think you know him too. He's Jesus. And he says we're going to have trials and tribulations in this world, but guess what? I've overcome the world, Jesus says. So you may be under oppression right now, but guess what? The one who has set you free has overcome in all of that, and he's ready to take us to that freedom.